Greetings, guys. My name is Benedict, and I'm the president at Lambano Trade Capital. This is a quick recap on our Gbpusd signal that we sent out yesterday, just to show you how it actually ended up playing out, based on the support and resistance trading strategy with the use of Bollinger Bands. So, for those of you guys that didn't see the signal, we have a previous video that I recommend that you watch, just to understand the mechanics of identifying these type of setups and actually taking full advantage of them. In the video we explain what aspects and what confluences that we look into before we can actually take a trade using Bollinger Bands and support and resistance. Yesterday we actually had the third pass here on this resistance area here. So at the time of the recording, the market was still trading around this area here, and a few hours later it actually started making that massive drop, and that's when we actually cashed in very hard, and now we're actually locked in on our profits. As you can see right now, the market is actually attempting to make some sort of a double bottom there, just to retest that support area that it broke in here. So we just had some manufacturing news on GBP right now, hence we can see this type of price action. But this does not encourage us. This is simply just to show you the power of using this strategy itself, and we do not need any sort of indicators to actually confirm our trades, because we actually traded this with a very high confidence. Like I said in our previous videos, that this strategy actually has like a 85% win ratio. So I recommend that you guys watch those videos so that you can understand what it took to actually take this trade. But for many of you might think that, okay, this was actually quite simple to identify, but there's actually something quite magnificent that we identified, not on this time frame though, but on a daily time frame. So I'm just gonna quickly switch to my daily and show you what we saw before we actually took the trade. So now we identified that yesterday we were actually in a resistance area, based on this prior bounce here of the resistance here. So the market came back into that area again, and it actually gave us an engulfing candlestick here, which for me is a very prominent reversal signal as well, because now coming into these levels of support and resistance and using the Bollinger Bands, we always want to look at what was happening prior, before it actually stepped into that resistance area, so one thing I identified was that we had about 3-4 days, in fact 5 days, where the market was rising, and immediately when it stepped into that resistance area, it bounced off heavily and giving us an engulfing candlestick right there. So this shows us there's quite a strong momentum of sellers in this area, and the days following that engulfing candle were also a good indication that there's a higher probability of the market continuing in the downtrend, simply because now, as you can see, these past 3 days, these past 3 candlesticks here, they were actually within the range of this red bar here. So this is a good indication, because now it simply shows us that there's less buyers and more sellers, hence they cannot break through above this red bar here. So this is basically 3 days where the market was having an inside bar range within this red bar here. So once it came into that area there, as you saw on our hourly chart, let's quickly switch back to the hourly chart. As you saw on our hourly chart, basically we can identify that the market was actually failing to break through to the upside. As you can see, we had our first test there, and then we had our second test there, and then we had our third test there, and then that's where we entered. I think even if we entered at some of these areas prior to us identifying this price action here, I think we would have also made some good money, because it gave us a good indication once it started coming out of this level here, because this was the second try of that support resistance area. So we could have actually taken that trade based on our Bollinger Band trading strategy, because if I had to insert the Bollinger Band here, we could actually see that this, as I said in our previous videos, based on our strategy, we are actually looking for the second test of the Bollinger Band once it steps into a resistance or a support area. So we had our first test there after the market actually came from a support area. We had our first test there of the band. It pierced the band but closed beneath the band, and then we had our second test there where it actually pierced the band, closed beneath the band, and following that we had a red candle. So this for us was a good indication, and once it started breaking down below the 157 level here, I think it would have been a good trading opportunity with our stop right above the Bollingers there. So this would have been a good trade as well. And even if we had to trade within the range as well, you could see that we had our first test of the band here with a red candle. We had 4 red candles where the market was coming down, and then we had an inside bar which bounced off the Bollinger Band there, which could have given us a good trading signal with our stop just below the red candle there. But if we had missed that one, it gave us another good trading opportunity here. So one thing that you always want to identify, more especially when it comes to candlestick patterns, is that once you come into these support and resistance levels, and it also has a confluence of it hitting the top or the lower band of the Bollinger Band, and it actually gives you something like a pin bar or an engulfing candlestick. This is a good indication for you to actually realize that this is a change in market direction, more especially if you've had a good number of days, anywhere from 3 to 4 days where the market was coming down. Yes, the strategy is actually recommended to be used on a higher time frame, but this is also a good indication as to what we meant by having 3 to 4 days where the market was moving in the opposite direction before you actually got that engulfing candle or pin bar of the support or resistance with confluence of the Bollinger Band. So this was gonna be our second piercing as well of the Bollinger Band. Here's, because of this one, will be our first and then our second, and it also gave us engulfing candlestick pattern. You could have taken this trade here and gotten out at the top of the resistance area there. So this is just to show you guys the power of trading Bollinger Bands with support and resistance, and finding more confluences such as candlestick patterns, Fibonacci levels, and what else, trend lines. So the more confluences that you find at an area, it means that there is a higher probability of it playing out the way that you want it to play. But I do recommend that you always keep the strategy simple, and in order to actually catch more pips, it's recommended that you Ooh, okay, it's actually looking like it's gonna continue going downwards, guys. So I actually would recommend that you use this strategy on a higher time frame, because now there's less noise and less volatility to scare you out of any trade based on whatever you see on a daily basis, on an hourly chart. So I recommend that you use this on a weekly chart or a daily chart, more especially if you have been seeing uh, uh, let's say for example you had a good couple of days where the market was moving in a certain direction. Like for example, we did have a good example here whereby we had 4 days where the market was rising, and then it bounced off into a resistance area, and it gave us an engulfing candlestick pattern and some few inside bars there. So this for us is a good indication that there is a high probability that the market would actually continue dropping. So I hope you guys learned a lot from this video, and I hope you understand the power of this strategy and use it to your advantage. Learn more about it, take notes, and I hope you actually make good profits with this, because now with the 85% win ratio, you will actually be able to identify certain setups that will actually give you a high level of confidence that they will move in a certain direction, and you can actually trade with a bigger lot size than you're normally used to trading. Let's say for example, if you've been trading using 2%, you can actually use 5% risk on these type of trades. So I hope you guys made money on this signal that I was sent yesterday, and I hope you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel and learn more about these setups. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you guys enjoy this.